We have covered unknown outlaws, famous lawmen, weird weapons, and other subjects relating to the American Wild West. But it's time to take a dive into the heartbeat of the Old West. On this episode, we'll be taking a look into the weapons that won the Wild West, Part 1. The Colt Patterson revolver, also known as the Texas Colt. The Colt Patterson revolver was the first practical revolving cylinder handgun made. This .36 caliber revolver was invented by Samuel Colt in 1831 and was patented in 1836. Texas served as kind of the proving ground for this revolutionary firearm. In 1839, the Republic of Texas ordered 180 of these revolvers for the Texas Navy, but it really solidified its name into Texas lore because it was the revolver issued to the early Texas Rangers. Most of you Wild West fans would know this, but the Texas Rangers were kind of a frontier force in the early years and were used to fight Native Americans who could fire multiple arrows in the same time it would take a single-shot pistol to be reloaded. This new Colt revolver gave them the edge they needed to defend themselves against Native American raids and put the native population on the defensive. The specific model used by the Texas Rangers is called the holster model, and it came with a 9-inch barrel. This Texas Colt was used by the Texas military during the Seminole Wars, the Texas Indian Wars, the Mexican-American War, and later models were used by the Confederacy during the American Civil War. This revolver weighed almost 3 pounds, and they were known to be both .28 and .36 caliber. This single-action revolver had a 5-round cylinder and had a muzzle velocity of 900 feet per second. The Texas Colt was super effective at around 65 yards. But there were some weird things about this firearm, mainly the trigger. See, the trigger would only extend out when the hammer was cocked back and ready to fire. There were a lot of instances where the trigger would get jammed, and in its retracted state you'd be unable to fire. This made the gun pretty useless in battle when this happened. The other problem with the firearm is that it was considered underpowered. Some would even say that the wounds it inflicted weren't enough to take the enemy combatant out. Even with these problems, Texas Ranger Captain Jack Hayes and Samuel Walker were huge advocates of the continued use and improvement of the Texas Colt. It was extremely important in the Battle of Bandera Pass. Each Texas Ranger was equipped with 2 Texas Colts. This gave them 10 shots to use instead of the 5s that their combatants got. It is pretty easy to say that the Colt Patterson rifle is one of the most important pieces of our Wild West puzzle. The Model 1841, the Mississippi rifle. The famous Mississippi rifle was the first standard U.S. military rifle to use a percussion lock system. This system provided much more reliability than the previous flintlock systems because of their ability to hold up in various weather events. First produced by Harper's Ferry Armory, a famous jumping-off point for the Civil War, and also known as the United States Armory and Arsenal at Harper's Ferry. This rifle became instrumental during the Seminole Wars, the Mexican-American Wars, and even into the Civil War. The original Mississippi rifle was a .54 caliber using 1.66 rifling. By 1855, the rifle was changed to a .58 caliber so that they can implement the mini-ball ammunition that had become the standard of the time. The original rifle wasn't set up to have a bayonet, but the appropriate changes were made by 1855 to have that a part of the rifle design. So how did the rifle earn its distinct nickname? It actually originated from the Mexican-American War, when Jefferson Davis, the future president of the Confederacy, was appointed colonel of the Mississippi Rifles, a volunteer regiment from, who guessed it, Mississippi. Davis pushed for wide use of the rifle, while his opponent, General Winfield Scott, said that the rifles were insufficiently tested and refused to put these rifles out en masse. The Model 1841 evolved into the Springfield Model 1855, which became the standard issue weapon for the regular Army infantry. It evolved again into the Springfield Model 1861 and Model 1863. The American Civil War saw the Mississippi rifle fade into the background. It was generally considered old-fashioned, but still effective. Union troops carried it until 1863, and the 45th New York Infantry used the rifle beyond Gettysburg. Some sharpshooters from the Confederacy used the rifle until the end of the Civil War. The Winchester Model 1887 lever-action shotgun, originally designed by the famous American firearms designer John Browning. This innovative firearm was produced by the Winchester Repeating Arms Company during the late 19th and early 20th century. The Model 1887 is considered one of the first successful repeating shotguns, using the famous lever-action design that the Winchester Repeating Arms Company was known for. John Browning actually suggested that the shotgun be a pump action, but Winchester and their management said, for brand recognition, their firearms should be lever action. The shotgun shells at the time used black powder as a propellant, and the Model 1887 was designed in both 10 and 12 gauge models. We see serious use of this firearm on the Wild West frontier. Famous Arizona Sheriff John Slaughter considered this to be his favorite gun for clearing out the Arizona Territory. Along with his Winchester repeating shotgun, he helped track the famous Apache chief Geronimo and arrested or killed Wild West outlaws and the famous Jack Taylor gang. Lawman Jeff Milton used his 10-gauge 1887 Winchester shotgun to kill the famous three-fingered Jack Dunlop during an attempted holdup of the Southern Pacific Railway in the Arizona Territory. The repeating shotgun was also known as an exceptional defensive firearm. It was heavily used by railroad messengers on the Denver to Rio Grande railroads during the time of the intense bandit action and robberies. The Winchester Model 1887 was also considered an incredible hunting shotgun that was used to hunt everything from fowl to buffalo. The 1887 shotgun would sell over 64,000 before the Model 1899 was put into production. This style of shotgun was also seen in the incredibly popular movie. We've probably all seen it, Terminator 2. The Sharps rifle. The Sharps rifle was designed by Christian Sharps in 1848 and was produced until 1881. This rifle was infamous for its long-range accuracy. The Sharps rifle became iconic not only during its time in service, but its appearance in the Western film and book genres. The action is a falling block and could shoot 8-10 shots per minute. It was used in the Civil War by multiple Union units, but the most famous is by the U.S. Army marksmen known as Burden sharpshooters. The Sharps rifle was a superior sniper rifle and had much greater accuracy than the common muzzle-loading muskets. With its higher rate of fire, breech-loading mechanism, and superior quality, it could be used and reloaded with ease, even from kneeling or prone positions. The one problem officers had with the weapons is that it would actually encourage men to waste ammunition. The Sharps was fairly expensive compared to the muzzle-loading Springfield rifle. To be precise, it's 3 times the cost of the Springfield. Only 11,000 Model 1859s were produced, but most of them were given to sharpshooters. Here's something interesting I found in my research. I did not know this. After the Civil War, the Sharps became extremely popular in commercial buffalo hunters and frontiersmen. These large-bore rifles were manufactured with some of the most powerful black powder cartridges ever made. Although this rifle became dated tech in 1881, there is still a fairly large following to this day. With the help of movies like Quigley Down Under, Valdez is Coming, and Billy Two Hats, an annual Sharps rifle match is held in Forsyth, Montana. Known as the Matthew Quigley Buffalo Rifle Match, shooters are tasked with hitting a target at 1,000 yards, which is 910 meters. This shooting match has been billed as the biggest rifle event in eastern Montana since the Custard Massacre. It has evolved into a 2-day competition with 8 shots for the score on 6 steel silhouette targets. at ranges of 350 to 805 yards.